I had to replace a KPI, I think I'd replace AOV, average order value, with customer lifetime value. And it's great to increase that clients are spending more money per purchase, but it's better to look at a client from their lifetime value, right? It's better to have a client that is going to buy for you forever or for years than to have a client that is going to buy a lot from you 3 times. So that's something that we're really looking at. How can we develop these very long-lasting relationships? And something that data has also shown us is sometimes you have clients who start out very small, and then in their 5th or 6th or 7th order, they start doing very big purchases, right? You're not necessarily going to see it in the first 3 or 4 purchases, but further down the line. And that's when you know that you've converted them into a loyal customer. And then the challenge is, how do you keep them, right? But we really do focus on ensuring that customers are with us for the long run.
Probably profit per square foot. I think it's a really outdated and a counterproductive metric for almost all retail today. But I think you start from a premise that stores need to be customer and associate focused versus square foot focused. So yes, that's why things like shopper yield and a lot of associate focused metrics are much, much better metrics than profit per square foot.
Might be a little controversial, but I really don't look at ROAS. I think ROAS, while there's certainly information that you need to gather about what's happening with your ad spend and what's that return on it, the ROAS metric itself, to me, is always much more focused around the agency and the agency results and being able to showcase what they've done for you versus, is it driving revenue? Is it driving transactions, higher AOV, higher UPT, higher return frequency? What is it really doing to your business?
One lesson that we learned at AT&T very early on is that there is a timing, or what we call an expiration of valid feedback. And if you email a survey 24 hours later, the only thing that hasn't expired as far as valid feedback is somebody who is very angry. You're gonna see horrible feedback in those surveys. But if you ask a very simple, very short time, get that expiration of that great experience you just had, and when you geo-fenced your location, they walk out into the parking lot, they get in their car and they get that text that says, how likely are you to recommend our store? 1 to 5, 5 being most likely.
It's a hard one because they all have their goods and bads. I think UPT, so units per transaction, is a KPI that sometimes is very pushy, especially in a lot of these highly transactional environments. And I think a lot of times this KPI is kind of fluffed with a lot of these like filler items, with like these little add-ons, especially like when you go to Sephora and whatnot, and they have these little knickknacks at the register that are just things you don't really need, but they help drive the average basket. Personally, I like to focus on customer retention and lifetime value of a customer and how frequently they're coming back. You could be making one large purchase and then you never see the client ever again, rather than smaller and frequent purchases where we're really building the retention and the loyalty.
So at Citi, we have a very tailored approach, layered approach of what are the main KPIs and then what are the sub-layers.
At the beginning, I wouldn't be too worried about bringing people in the store. I'd be worried about making sure that once they're in the store, they're happy with the way things flow, right? So maybe many times the first KPI is make sure we get 1,000 people to walk into our store every single day. I would change that. I'd make sure that every single person that walks into the store has a really good way of going around your store, getting to know the brand, getting to know the product, and buying the product. And then the other KPI that I have is on the sales team, right? And it is a good one because I manage the B2B sales team. But on the sales team, I believe if you go straight into hiring people with KPIs that this is your quota, this is what you gotta make, this is what you gotta sell, they won't make it, right? You gotta make them fall in love with the brand first. And that's my first KPI. Let's set a KPI where people are well trained, fall in love with the brand, and then they're gonna sell the brand on its own.